everyone, and welcome to our Monday Night Astrology. I'm Megan with the Academy of Logic and Light, and we have our teachers Julie and Elle both with us here today. The Academy of Logic and Light is a community educational platform that provides a safe space for people to practice their spirituality without being indoctrinated. We have monthly meetups, both online in Zoom around the full moon, and on the third Sunday of every month, we have an in-person get-together. On March 17th, I'm going to be teaching about the Wheel of the Year, so I'm really excited about that. And then we are on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and we have a Facebook group under Academy of Logic and Light. We also have a Patreon if you'd like to support us over there. And then if you're interested in teaching with us, there's also a link on our link tree down below that you can sign up to be a teacher, just like Elle did and Julie did. So yay. We're doing lots of fun things, and I feel like we're always like, oh my gosh, there's so many fun things, but we're just constantly brainstorming and talking to new people. Our in-person events, we have people signing up to host for us. So there's going to be new faces and a lot of really cool new topics as well that the people are going to help cover. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be, just an exciting year. And yeah, I'm excited to see new people and new faces. And then where am I at? Okay. let me
Earth. You're on planet Earth.
Yeah, okay. So I guess that checks. My neck hurts. I'm here. But if you want to go to astro.com and pull up your birth chart there, Julie will kind of have examples of charts as we talk today. So we'll be able to pull them up and show you where things are. So if you want to follow along at home, and please do. And yeah, without further ado, I'm going to run a little promo that still says astrology and coffee, but we put a lot of time into it. I did, at least. So
yeah, I don't know how to change it. I definitely can touch it.
All right. Bye, everyone. Have a great class.
I just love Megan. I know. One of my favorite Pisces of all time. For real. Hello. You look beautiful. Hi. Your hair is like the most beautiful, like butterfly cut I've ever seen. Thank you. I'm working on my glamour magic this week. I love it. Got my nails did, hair did, everything done. Fancy girl. Yeah, going to the airport in like 3 to 4 hours. For a red eye. We're flying into New York and then probably just driving like an hour of our 5-hour drive to like sleep at a hotel, and then we're heading out to Vermont where I'm officiating a wedding. Oh, that's so fun. I'm the wedding shaman. I got Rain to like smoke and like sage and everything. So I'm like I went into the store and got like special scents for the bride and groom. It's just I'm so excited. What are you gonna wear? I kind of always wear like a black like one-piece pants like suit. Okay. And then a blazer, but like the blazer I'll wear when I'm like officiating with my stole, and it's like black and gold with the moon phases and Hecate's labyrinth. I love that. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, so then when I take off the jacket, it's the party time. It's backless. And like, a lot of tips. The party has started when the jacket. Yeah. The officiant's ready to dance. She's here for drinks and dancing. Maybe not drinks, but, we'll get there. Oh, if there's a kombucha cocktail, I'll be around. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. Awesome. Tonight we are doing the 7th house, right? I know. I was like, let me check. Yeah, the 7th house. The houses have taken so much time to explain. The house rulers can be very complex and very confusing. And sometimes giving examples, I can go down a rabbit hole too. I can be like, well, this can be here and it connects there. And then you follow it here and then we're here. And then there's this and this and this. And people are like the serial killer board with the string. Talking about. Go back 3 steps. Oh, okay. My
We're
bad.
trying.
Like, I'm so confused.
And I like that we just like jumped into house rulers before we like really did anything about houses. But I think you guys are really gonna understand houses by the end of this.
Yeah, when we go through houses, you're gonna be like, cool.
Oh, child's play.
Yeah, I know how to do all of this. So the 7th house, just to reiterate, we all know is relationships, partnerships. It is the 7th house, opposite of the 1st house. So where the 1st house is self and all about self, this is about others. So completely opposite end. A lot of times, your 7th house ruler, just fun fact, tends to be characteristics of what you look for in a person. It may not be their sign, but it is characteristics. So I'll give an example of a really cool chart. Well, 2 really cool charts. It's mine and my husband's. Now, my rising is Sagittarius. My ascendant, my rising is Sagittarius. So if you go all the way across my little line, my 7th house starts on Gemini. So I tend to be really attracted to people that are intellectually stimulating. They're very fun. They're very light. They're very free. They just don't have a lot of like strictness to them. I really appreciate the lightheartedness of people, and that's what I'm attracted to. Ironically, my husband is an Aries rising, and so on the complete opposite end of his is Libra. So he looks for more of a peacemaker, kind, just a soft person, not too crazy. I mean, I'm pretty crazy. I don't know what he did there. He messed up, but very Libra-like tendencies. So if you look across, the opposite of your ascendant is going to be your 7th house ruler, and that's an indication of the type of partner that you are going to be interested in. And
tracks.
You like very eccentric, you like very weird, independent people, you like people that are free, that do their own thing. You don't want to kick your ass.
I feel so seen.
Period. If you're dating anyone and they're watching this, like, have your own hobbies.
Please have your own life.
Have your own hobbies. Be weird. The more weird, the more she's gonna like you, honestly.
Yes. Can confirm.
So just a fun fact. So when you're looking at that, I mean, yes, your 7th house ruler indicates you and things about you, especially with depending on what planets are there, but it also indicates what type of partner you tend to attract or be attracted to. And so a lot of times your rising is going to be what attracts people to you, because a lot of times people, that's what they see initially when they see your ascendant. So that's not always like what is brought to you is the descendant. It's more of what you're actually attracted to. And I definitely would say, like, there can be like 2 people and one could be like mediocre and one could be like extremely hot. But if like I'm hanging out, they have to have this mental like quickness, and they have to be smart, and they have to have this like something that draws me to them, and they can be very unattractive. I've actually dated people and like I first met and I'm like, yeah, you're not it. But then their personality is like, oh, okay, I kind of dig it. I'm not about looks at all. So
yeah,
that will say a lot about, my husband, where his is Libra, he cares a little more about looks. He's dated someone that he's like, she wasn't it, but she was hot. I'm like, thank God that's over.
Stop it, you are hot.
I'm like, oh, no. I mean, like, the relationship, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That was not a blow towards me. That was more.
Okay, good. I was like, please.
No, he's actually dated some really good ones. There's just been a few that I'm like, how did we fall into that?
I think we could all say that about ourselves and our exes' past decisions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it's just knowing
Learning
my
lessons.
personality and how he attracted some of his exes. I'm just like, what did you find attractive about that? Like, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. She was crazy and it worked at the time. Like, we're young, you're young.
Yeah. It is what it is.
All right. So I'm going to keep this in line with how I've been doing it consistently. Sorry. For the first 6 houses. I'm going to play as if you're 7th. We're going to go through all the house rulers being each, Jesus Christ, each individual sign. And then I will throw some random, like if you have this planet there, or depending on where this planet is in your chart. So some scenarios, I try not to go too far in the scenarios because I feel like I lose a lot of people and it gets confusing. So I'm just trying to talk really slow. That's why this is taking us like 12 years to get through just the house.
I'm very happy with this.
Yes. So
also, if you're watching before we start, tell us where you're watching from and what your name is, because we can't always see that. And then if you have any questions, put them on the side and we'll try to get to them either if it's on topic and there's a pausing point, or at the end. So think about them.
You know what I was thinking? Sorry, this is just a side note, and this is probably something we should just talk about in a meeting that we have and not on the live. But I was thinking, when are you drinking again, or are you?
Whenever my body says.
Whenever your body.
Every time I think about it, my stomach goes like upside down. So like until I'm ready, my body will tell me when I'm ready. There's no end time.
Okay. Well, maybe, hopefully before I'm pregnant and when your body is ready, I was thinking we should do like a shit face podcast or a shit face live where we're just like taking shots, we're getting drunk, we're laughing. It doesn't have to be like a teaching thing because that may not be the best. But our next After Dark, let's just be shit faced. Tequila shots.
Tequila is exactly the first thing I heard in my head too.
Yeah, tequila shots. If you're into
tequila and astrology,
yes, please get wasted with us and just comment. Call in. Can we call in? Can we get a phone line?
Yeah, we can figure something out. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, no, I'm sure Megan knows. She's probably like, oh yeah, that's this.
Let the wheels turn. Let's go.
Okay, totally off subject here, but okay. So if your ruler of the 7th house is in your 1st house, so let's say the ruler of your 7th house is Aries, and your Mars is in the 1st house. So this is going to be a little bit of a different than the rest, just because, well, we're not going to do all the 1st house. Never mind. So this one, because it's the 1st house, it's complete. It's the opposite. It's the polarities. So whatever's in your 7th house, and if Aries is your 7th house ruler and your Mars is in the 1st house, you got to think they're completely opposite. So Libra obviously would be your rising at that point. But this can be someone who has really successful relationships or partnerships. There might be, I think of like a fitness trainer position here. Somebody who trains, like you have that, your Mars in the 1st house, which is very physical. And then, this Aries ruling your 7th house, which would make you very like outgoing and maybe a little pushy, but in a good way. Like, there's nothing better than someone screaming at you to do squats because they want what's best for you, but it's very aggressive and it can be scary. Like if you're at work and you mess something up at work, that's not always beneficial, right? Like you're not going to probably get the best outcome from the person that you're screaming at. But when it comes to workouts, there is no better way to, have the perfect body than somebody screaming that you're not doing enough.
Very military aspect here.
Yes. And the whole thing with it being like opposites and being polarities kind of intensifies it, makes it more of a push and pull. But I mean, it can complement, it can complete, or it could be a complete disaster depending on where other things in your chart are placed and what aspects you have going on. But ultimately, I think of someone who is successful in relationships, very physical, like they work out a lot, and also the aesthetic of how their body looks and how they come across as people is very important. They want to appear beautiful because, 7th house is a balanced aesthetic, calm, balanced, tact, all those things. So that's kind of that energy. If your 7th house ruler, hold on one second, let me tell my kiddo to turn this down. Hey, Kens, will you turn that down, please? Thank you. Okay. If your 7th house ruler is Taurus, and so Taurus is ruled by Venus, say Venus is in your 2nd house, then you are going to be someone who possessions really matter, and then the way you take care of things are going to be beneficial as far as the look of things. It's going to appear, depending on what, I have to be careful saying this, depending on what planets are in your 7th house, it's going to matter to you how you come across, how you appear. And this isn't anything new. We've talked about Taurus energy. We've talked about Libra energy. We've talked about 7th house and the 2nd house, because those are kind of what we're playing with right now, like using as an example. There is Taurus 2nd house energy is going to be more consistent. So if your Taurus is ruling your 7th house and Venus is in your 2nd house, you're going to really appreciate when people buy things for you, when people take care of you, when people are consistent. It's going to bring out this very loving, nurturing nature of yourself. You're going to find that you can be your best self when people take care of you, and not just possessions, but mostly possessions. Like when people buy things for you, your love language is most likely gifts. So, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just something that fulfills you and how relationships go for you. Getting things, receiving possessions, and being taken care of, and also people being consistent is going to be like huge for you. It's going to be very crucial. So if you say your Venus, and I'm trying to keep it consistent with the 2nd house, but I'm trying to give an example. If Taurus rules your 7th house and your Venus is in like the 12th house, you might find that there's a lot of confusion with relationships. You may kind of an illusion. It might be difficult signing contracts because you maybe have found yourself signing contracts and you've gotten screwed in the past. And there's this kind of weariness of, do I do this again? Because Taurus is cautious, and Taurus in the house of relationships tends to be cautious anyways. But then you throw Venus, the planet that rules Taurus, in the 12th house of like loss and just things that really shit can go sideways real quick. It brings out this kind of anxious, not untrustworthy. You're not untrustworthy. You have a hard time trusting people. The trust is not there. So that can be this kind of placement. Do you have any questions on that? I feel like you're going to say something.
No, I'm just taking it all in. I'm trying to pull up my other screen which houses match which sites again, so I can reference it.
I know. I'm like,
I wish I had it memorized, but I do not.
I'm trying to, and I'm trying to like bring that up too. So if I miss it, if I don't explain something, just be like, hey, and what is this? And even if you know, it might be good, because I sometimes just go and people may not know. So don't hesitate to ask.
So looking at why we're taking a little pause, sorry. While we're looking here, okay, so yours is in 7th house is in Gemini. So we follow what rules Gemini?
Mercury.
Which is Mercury. And so we follow, it's the one with little horny guy, right?
Mm-hmm. So that's in my 10th house.
Okay. And then mine is 7th house is Aquarius, which is
Saturn.
Urana. Saturn?
Well, depending on which if you're doing traditional, it can be Uranus or
so either this or this, 3rd or 4th house.
So yeah, depending on which one.
Okay.
And then you can just kind of look at your partnerships, and we'll go into Gemini and Aquarius, like we'll go into those. But that's kind of what I'm doing, is I'm associating what the 7th house ruler is. That's why we went through Aries. Now we're in Taurus. We'll go to Gemini next. And now that's why we're following Venus. And that's why on Aries, we followed Mars, because that is the ruler of that sign. So we follow the ruler of the sign to the house that it's in, and then also what sign it's in. So that matters too. So it all kind of connects, it all speaks. And so it might be easier to the chart to go through that. But yeah, it's kind of just like.
Yeah, and if you guys want us to use your charts, just send us a message on any of the social medias and give us your info, and we'll pop it up here without saying your name.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you want that.
Unless you do. We can do that too. I don't think anyone has been super private about it, but we definitely wouldn't say anything. Block it out. I wouldn't even know who they were. So that's
Yeah.
totally, unless I just know your chart really well.
Right.
So
like every celebrity. You're incredible.
yeah. I'm like, I know the celebrities. Pop stars, a little more difficult, but celebrities, I got you. Okay, so if your 7th house ruler is in the 3rd house, so let's say that Gemini is your 7th house ruler, and let's just say your Mercury is in the 3rd house. So this person would be very successful in partnerships, communication. They probably are very witty, things are well thought out, and they can present them and speak them and say them in a way that makes sense to everybody. They have a very friendly lightheartedness in relationships. And I think this is probably one of my biggest things is I feel like in my friendships, my relationships, my 7th house energy, I am very lighthearted. I'm very chill. I'm very, but mine is, so I would follow my Mercury to the 10th house because that's where my Mercury is. And I have a lot of partnerships. This for me isn't so much relationships. I've never really met anyone that I've dated at work. I have kind of, but a long time ago, in my 20s, it was a wild thing, but not my older years. But this is definitely more relationships for like contracts, working alongside with people that I become really good friends with, and our communication is just on point. Like I've never had a boss. And this is, so mine is Gemini, is the ruler of my 7th house, and my Mercury is in the 10th house of career. That's why I'm going over the whole career. I've never had a boss that I didn't understand, like we weren't aligned, and I didn't understand what they were talking about. I know a lot of people are like, my boss, like I never know what she wants. I'm so confused. There just seems to be a disconnect there. And I definitely have never experienced that. I'm always like, oh yeah, I know exactly what my people need from me. And it's just very well communicated. And I always blame this, or not blame, I'm always grateful for this because of my 7th house, Gemini going into my 10th house. Like the communication is very crystal clear, and I couldn't be more appreciative of that. But going back to just staying aligned for the 3rd house, this can also be good relationships with siblings. Maybe good contract work with siblings, like maybe one of you, this could be like someone who does maybe real estate, and they sign a lot of contracts with, maybe they have siblings that sell or purchase or different things that they do a lot of contracts with, and it works out. It's very, very, very beneficial in that aspect. So
that's so weird. My sister's a commercial real estate manager.
Is she?
Yeah.
In Utah?
My little sister.
In Utah though?
No, in San Antonio.
Oh, I was like,
she's like one of the biggest companies, like started from scratch like crazy story, but yeah, that's so interesting. She owns it.
Oh,
she was like 30 under 30 in San Antonio. She's one of the only huge like led companies. She's speaking in New York at some big conference on it.
I love that. I love
it. So random.
I have a love for commercial real estate. I love it. It's, it's not for everyone, but it definitely, I really enjoy it. I still dabble in it. I still have a contract that I work with someone that I do consulting with. So
there's always something new I learn about you, I swear.
I just talked, we had a call today on some things. So yeah, I can't really get all the way out of it. It just never leaves me. I'm still engaged, but I love it and I'm here for it. So. But yeah, so on to the next one. If your 7th house ruler is in the 4th house, so let's pretend that Cancer rules your 7th house and your moon, and the reason I'm going for the moon is because the moon is what rules Cancer. So Cancer is on your line for the 7th house. The Cancer is ruled by the moon, so then you go into your chart, and just for 4th house argument, we're going to say that your moon is in the 4th house. Anytime you have, Cancer ruling anything is going to be homey. It's going to be nurturing. You're probably very, what you look for in relationships are probably like a nurturer, and not even so much a caregiver, just someone that takes care of like your emotional needs and somebody that really listens to you. You might be one of those women or men that don't really need someone financially to take care of you. You just need someone to sit and listen to you. It's very important. This person has very good intuition in relationships and partnerships or contracts. So they just really are in tune with other people's intentions, and they can put a grasp on things. And other things do depend. Like if you have Neptune in a really funky spot squaring something, it can be that you do have illusions of like relationships. But typically, Cancers know what they want. This might be a placement for somebody who's very clingy. Haven't really brought any of that up yet. So we haven't really talked about like what causes people to be clingy and what causes people to be distant. I mean, it's a number of things, but this is one of those. If your Cancer rules your 7th house, you're probably a very clingy person. So
Interesting.
Fun facts. It does not roll mine. Mine is like the opposite. Mine's like cold as ice, Gemini. I'm grateful for. Yours is cold as ice too with your Aquarius. I don't know what you're laughing at over there.
I just could relate. I can relate.
Walls up. No fucks given.
It's safer that way.
My daughter always says, I guess this is like stuck with her for some reason. I've always been like, you know what? If some girl can take your man, tell her to keep him, you know? And she's like, it's so much easier said than done. She's like, but I get it. I'm like, just live by it. Hers is Pisces.
Oh, and it is easier said than done.
Girl, I need you to like focus. And she's like, I like the saying, but I don't know that I can like. She's like, I want to fight for people. I'm like, no, don't fight for people.
Oh yeah, absolutely not.
We're still in training. It's fine.
Yeah.
So if your 7th house ruler is in the 5th house, so let's say Leo rules your 7th house. So Leo, we all know, is the star of the show energy, fun, feisty, center stage. And then you put it in this house of like peace and beauty. It's just like the perfect stage. It just makes me think of this person on like the most beautiful, eloquent stage with flowers. The aurora smells amazing. The lights are, just dim and beautiful. It's just like everything that you could imagine that's aesthetically pleasing is here in this house with the Leo ruling it. And so let's say your sun is in the 5th house. So this would make the person very fun, very lively, but also have this grace to them and not too much like aggressive, like in your face, I'm the star of the show. They would do it with grace. And it would be like, let me use an example. There's someone that's just like so graceful. Like,
I mean, I feel like Audrey Hepburn kind of a vibe.
Yeah, just like they have the stage, they have the center stage. They're an entertainer, but they're not like arrogant ever. They're just graceful and kind and charismatic, and they just have this way about them. This is that kind of energy. So if Leo rules your 7th house, this is one of the things we can kind of go over with the 7th house rulers, depending on their duality, is whether they stay married, they move a lot. If you have a mutable sign, so Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, or Pisces ruling your 7th house, you're most likely, not most likely, the chances of you getting married more than once are likely. Now, there are other things in your chart that can change that. So don't see that and be like, oh my God, I've only been married once, I'm going to get divorced, because you might have a lot going on in your chart and that's not the case. But technically, it does mean that it shifts and changes. Mine is Gemini. I can confirm. I have been married twice. So, Cardinal's a little different. Cardinal, that's Libra, Aries, Capricorn, and Cancer. Those tend to stick with partners. The fixed signs, again, tend to stick with partners. Other things do matter in your chart, but when you have a mutable sign over your 7th house or your 7th house cusp, which is the ruler of the 7th house. If I ever refer to 7th house cusp, because that's just what I technically call it, but it's really a house ruler, just know that they're the same thing. you most likely might have a few, and maybe you have like just a switch of relationships. Maybe it's not even marriage, but he tends to be more likely to switch with a mutable sign. So if Leo rules your 7th house, that's great, but it also means that you're an Aquarius rising. That can be hard. That's a challenging one. So not only do I have like a Pisces, Sun, Cancer, Moon child, she also has an Aquarius rising.
So, for example, Mike, right here, he's an Aries Sun, but Capricorn rising. So that would put his 7th house as a
Capricorn rising. So your Cancer would be your 7th house.
So then you would follow the moon.
And then you follow your moon, where your moon is, and that kind of like connects the two. So wherever your moon is. But again, the Cancer, which it doesn't. So here's the thing: in Placidus charts, it can be off a little bit. We'd really have to see, because if you're 29 degrees, your descendant could be something different by a few degrees. So you may not be Cancer, you could be Leo, or you could even be Gemini. Moon is in Pisces, but what rules your 7th house? Is it Cancer, Leo, or Gemini? Probably Cancer or Leo. We'll get there. We'll wait for that response. But just to keep this going, if your 7th house ruler is in the 6th house, so say Virgo rules your 7th house, this is almost as hard as having a Virgo Venus, because this is critical. Virgo is Mike. You have Mike's chart?
No, send us your chart, Mike.
Yeah, and I can show you. So if you look at on this piece of pie here with all the 12 houses, Mike, see how we've circled the 7th house, and then the line right below it that kind of crosses and it goes into the Aquarius symbol? I need to know what that Aquarius or what that sign is on that 7th house.
Entering into your 7th house.
Yes. It's if you see Cancer or Leo, it's going to be one of those, possibly Gemini, but I don't think it's going to be Gemini. It's too far up. So if you have Virgo as your 7th house ruler, this one, I guess I shouldn't say it's going to be bad. You're just very critical in relationships. You notice everything. You pay attention to everything. You're red flag queen or king. You're like, red flag. She blinks too fast. Red flag. Doesn't
blink at all.
Doesn't blink at all. Red flag. And that's great, but I don't know. Unless you find your perfect person, then it's going to be kind of a challenge. So Virgo and anything can be hard, because they do tend to be critical. And sometimes this is what happens is Virgos can be so critical. I've seen where they just can't handle all of the stress and anxiety that they're feeling because of their overcriticalness. They just give up, and then they just, I don't know, don't date at all, or just don't have any serious relationships, even though that's kind of what they long for, but they just kind of push through, and they're like, no one's going to be perfect, so I'm just going to settle for all these people. They're so stressed, the tension and the anxiety is too much. They just throw their hands up, and they're like, I'm never going to clean my house again, and I'm just going to date trash because that's all that's out there. That kind of energy. So if Virgo rules your 7th house and you find yourself lacking in relationships, self-love first, man. Love yourself first. And if you're not perfect, you probably shouldn't strive for the perfect partner, which none of us are.
It's a good lesson for everyone.
I know. I know that's a hard pill for some of us to swallow, but you're not perfect. And Virgo ruling the 7th house has a hard time with that. So I hope you figure that out. So again, if Virgo rules your 7th house, then you are going to go find your Mercury and whatever house that's in and what planet that is in. Compare the two energies. 7th house is relationships, partnerships. Wherever your Mercury is, look at that house and that sign and kind of mesh those together and see what, oh, that makes sense. That I'm overly critical and I talk too much in relationships, or I don't talk enough in relationships. Like if you have Mercury in the 3rd house, you might talk too much. If you have Mercury in the 8th house, you may not talk at all. You may hold all of that inside. So you're going to have to use your thought process in how you connect your chart, because your chart's going to be different. And I can give 1,000 examples, but if it's not your chart, it really doesn't matter. So
Yeah.
we're going to have to think here, guys. All right. If your 7th house ruler is in the 7th house, this gives a really, how do you want to say, not naive, but just positive way about you. You know, relationships are great. Like commitments are good. Contracts work smoothly. It aligns. It goes really well. It can be too aloof, though. Have you ever met someone with like triple Libra energy?
No.
There's just like no real. Okay, I shouldn't say that. I'm a Libra, so there's no shade. I'm just saying there's just like, it's just a lot of air and it flows and it's happy, but like getting that person to either make a decision or pick a side, not happening. And it's that kind of energy. When Libra is the ruler of the 7th house, which means you have an Aries rising. So you might have a little bit of fight in there. So this is all depending on what other things you have going on in your chart. But if your Venus is in the 7th house and it's ruled by Libra, and you probably just are carefree, easygoing in relationships, and how you love is very, free. You do like someone that's attractive. That is important to you. You got to remember, though, there's a person in there, and that matters too, because sometimes they can be evil.
Also good advice for everyone.
There's a real person in there. So yeah, if your ruler of the 7th house is in the 8th house, this can be, so think of 8th house energy, or sorry, not 8th house. Your 8th house can't be your 7th house ruler. Scorpio. If Scorpio is your 7th house ruler, think of it as Scorpio is other people's possessions, other people's money in the place of love. Like you might really hit a gold mine by dating or marrying someone with money, or someone with land or possessions or assets and things like that. That might be your wealth and how you make it big, or become a millionaire, or whatever it is for you. So if the ruler of the 7th house is Scorpio, and say your, depending on if you're doing traditional or modern, your Mars or your Pluto, wherever those are, depending on which study you prefer, is going to be a huge indicator of how you build yourself up, and how you fall and how you rebuild in relationships. A lot of times this person can put so much into relationships that they become, depending on where your Pluto is. I'm using Pluto, I'm using modern astrology right now. But if your Pluto is in a house, again, the 12th house of loss, you might put everything into these relationships and then it crumbles and falls, and there's no benefit to it. And then you have to rebuild. But there's the strength there to rebuild and trust again. But it's very slim, and most likely when trust is broken with this placement, it's very, very hard to rebuild and regain. So if you have this placement, just know that not everybody's a snake. If you've been snaked once or twice, depending on where your Neptune is too, that can really change this. But just know that everything is an experience and much needed to help you develop who you are supposed to become. And not everyone is out to get you, because this can kind of be paranoia in relationships, wondering what other people's motives are.
Oh, I just got Mike's chart. Hold on.
Nice.
Cancer rules the 7th chart.
Cancer, okay.
Yeah.
Would you say that you're maybe a little clingy in relationships? And this could be depending on other things in your chart, so you may not be, but I would definitely say like maybe you're a nurturer a little bit in relationships. You want to take care of people, and could possibly be clingy, maybe not. I don't know Mike, so I don't know if that's the case, but it could be for him. depending on what his other placements are. But I did see Capricorn in there, so you may not be clingy at all because you have Capricorn rising. So maybe not initially, maybe not in the beginning, maybe super independent, don't need nobody in the beginning, but eventually you turn into like a little mush and you do a more needy, maybe, possibly. So, yeah, that's through the 5th through the 8th house. All right. If your ruler of the 7th house is in the 9th house, so let's say Sagittarius rules your 7th house. This is a fun, kind of wish this was mine, but that would make me a Gemini rising, and I'm cool with that. So I used to be a little clingy, but I've changed and super secure now. That comes with like growth and involvement. So good for you for doing the work. I love that. I think we all like had that clingy stage, maybe.
Yeah, I've definitely been there as a Capricorn.
Younger years, like, don't leave me.
Yeah.
That's funny. All right. So if your ruler of the 7th house is in the 9th house, so you are a Sagittarius ruling your 7th house, then you're going to go into Jupiter. Let's pretend Jupiter's in your 9th house. It connects them. It makes them, connects them your luck and how you receive luck. And you're probably really lucky in love. Like love, Sagittarius just tend to be happy-go-lucky. And they can lack tact. So make sure that if Sagittarius does rule your 7th house, that you are not being an asshole to your partner or saying it how it is because you're a realist. I'm so overhearing people say they're a realist, and that's just their excuse to be an asshole to say what they think. Like, use some tact. You don't have to be a dick. Like, put some tact in there. Your fellow Libra would appreciate some tact.
Yeah, I had actually a spiritual lady who was like channeling, and she's like, I can't control how the message comes out. And I was like, yes, you can.
Mm-hmm. You can.
Tact and compassion and empathy go a long way, man.
Yeah. Well, and people are more receptive to it. It's like nobody really is going to respond how you want them to respond by being a dick. It's not.
Attracts more flies with honey.
And just be nice.
Whatever that saying is.
I'm like, I don't know if I know that one, but
I'm notoriously mess up sayings.
They're like, no, that's not what it is. I don't know.
Like blend 2 or 3, and I'm like, I don't know.
You're like 2 peas and I don't know. There's a lot. But yeah, so I feel like I'm always like praising Sagittarians, which I do because I love Sagittariuses. But just to give you a little insight, though, they can lack tact, and this especially dealing with contracts and people. And again, it's not just relationships. It's not just romantic. It can be platonic relationships, or it can be business relationships. You have to, tap into some of your skills, being charismatic, being tactful, and just using some grace every once in a while. But other than that, fun, lighthearted, great in relationships. I could see this person being like a lot of fun, depending on other things in your chart. But a fortunate a placement that would be good for the 7th house ruler. So moving on to the next one, if your 7th house ruler is, let's say, in Capricorn, and then we're going to follow your Saturn to the 10th house. Capricorn and Virgo are not the most romantic. So if this is, say, a lot of energy here dealing with business partners and or career, things of that nature, then this will be great because no one is better at business than a Capricorn. No one gets business more than a Capricorn. Nobody works harder and will work themselves to the bone more than a Capricorn. Sorry. You might be another sign, but I guarantee you there's 10th house or Capricorn placements throughout your chart that indicate when you're a workaholic. It all stems back to Capricorn. So if you have Capricorn ruling your 7th house, this can be really good in business, but it can be very lacking in relationships, depending on other things in your chart. But this person could tend to be cold in relationships, romantic relationships. They can be very controlling. There's a want here because, Capricorns know best. And in a place of relationships, they are going to be like, no, this is how you do this. And they're just going to be more dominant and depending on what the person is that they're dating, they may appreciate that. Like some people don't like their food ordered for them. Some people do. This person is going to order your food for you because you don't know how to do it right, or you're not going to do it fast enough, or you're not going to say it right. It's that kind of energy. So I like when people order my food. I hate to like figure out what I really want and have to say it and speak. Like I appreciate that shit, but not everyone is like that. So this is that kind of energy. So, and then if you have your Saturn in the 10th house, it can even make that more challenging because, you know, if you think about Saturn, it's the one that teaches us. There's probably a lot of lessons that come through here in career. That's how you learn things, depending on other things in your chart. Your relationships might, you might lose a lot of relationships, most likely by working too much or putting your career ahead of them if your Saturn is in the 10th house and Capricorn rules your 7th. It's kind of like one of those things, like relationships and careers don't align really. One is, you know, 2 hours in the morning, 4 hours in the evening, and the other one's 8 hours a day or more. And if you find yourself really pulled or drawn to one, the other one lacks. It's not, and 9 times out of 10. Now you might have a very special or specific thing that happens that's not the case, but 9 times out of 10, 2 people go to totally different places during the day for 8 hours or longer, spending all that time away, and that's what their, you know, that's what their energy goes to for so many hours of the day. Whereas your relationships, you don't spend 8 hours a day with your person. Or if you do spend 8 hours a day with your person, you're probably not excelling in your career. Hopefully you are, but I don't think so. You know what I mean? Like there's a give and take here, and because they do square, Libra squares, you know, Capricorn, it's difficult. And Libra likes partnerships, likes relationships, where Capricorn likes success and what they can become. It's just a challenging placement. I feel like I've gone on for a minute with this Capricorn ruling the 7th house. Somebody needed to hear that out there. I'm going to pretend like I'm a preacher, and somebody needed to hear my sermon today.
You in the back.
Yeah, I see you. All right. If your ruler of the 7th house is in the 11th house, so Julie, let's say your Aquarius rules your 7th house. So we've already discussed what type of partner she's into, but then we're going to follow her. I do this every time. Aquarius is the one that trips me up. It's Uranus. Or her Saturn, depending on traditional or modern. So you follow that, you see which house it is, and you see what sign it's in. So for Julie, Aquarius, we follow, let's just use your Uranus. So her relationships tend to, she's honestly, this is more of her relationship with her family because it's in the 4th house, and Uranus is all about rebellion, and it's in Sagittarius. So it couldn't be more like of a rebellious child person in the home of their family. So
yes.
Relationship with family. But if we want it, let's play and let's look at Saturn. So in your 3rd house, Saturn, so Aquarius, relationships with siblings. And is your Saturn in Libra? Yeah. No, it's in Scorpio.
Or going, if you're looking at what's entering it, right? It would be
okay.
Libra.
Yeah. So Libra rules the 3rd house, and that does trend. Those do work well together. However, Saturn is not here to play nice with the trines of the aspects. Saturn's here to like teach a lesson. So Saturn's like, okay, relationships with siblings are going to be challenging. I'm going to teach you something. You're going to learn. You're going to grow. Sorry, it's like the 2 things there. But being the Aquarian, you know, the energy of the house, I wish I could say that it's more, I think there's probably a part of you that was understanding or is understanding, but there's also kind of a part of you that's like fixed. You know, Aquarius is fixed and it's stubborn. And it's like, no, I'm whatever the situation is, relationships are this way because of how I am. And there's nothing wrong with that. So that's how you would follow your planets to the houses. All right. If your 7th house ruler is in the 12th house, I've used the 12th house a lot for like loss and not trusting people. So let's say Pisces rules your 7th house. And let's say that Neptune, I know I should say the 12th house because that's what we're doing, but I'm going to say your Neptune is in the 10th house. Now, Neptune is hazy. Neptune is, not 100% correct all the time, which is, when you hear, I'm going to use one of your things and mess it up. What is it? Oblivion is bliss? That's not what it is. What is it? It's
oh man, I feel like I actually know this one, but
when you don't know what's really going on, it's kind of nice. It's kind of like, oh, okay, well, the world's going to shit, but I don't watch the news, so I'm in my happy bubble. And
ignorance is bliss.
Yes. And now that, this energy is ignorant, it's just, it really just helps calm. Like this is a calm spiritual energy. So if Pisces rules your 7th house, you're probably very spiritual in relationships. You may connect with a lot of people, and that can be good or bad depending. Pisces has a hard time really locking down with like one person in general because they are so free and they are so like shifty and changey. Like what they want one minute changes to the next. So I find that these people have the hardest time staying in relationships or with one person. Again, depending on other things in your chart, but this one can be very challenging for you to be to stay in the same relationship. And so if your Neptune is in a house that's very clear, like the 10th house, like if it was in the 12th house, it's probably like, oh, you get screwed over a lot. You're super naive. You believe everybody. You sign contracts without really understanding them or reading them, and you get yourself into ordeals. That would be Neptune in the 12th house, because the 12th house and Neptune and it being ruled by Pisces is like one big, like, it's fine. It's gonna be fine. They trust their intuition a lot, which is great, but being aware is also very helpful. So if, say we're going to play with the fact that their Neptune is in the 10th house, which is very aware, very on top of the situation. 10th house reads the fine lines. We can even put it in the 6th house of that like detailed energy, focused in on things. And this would ease up on their naiveness. This would give this Pisces ruling the 7th house less just, confusion in relationships or partnerships. They would have more of an understanding and be very detailed in their relationships. Now, it's very unlikely that they're, well, no, that's not true. Be in the 6th house. But typically, if you have a Pisces ruling your 7th house, you are a lover. You're very kind in relationships. You are very sweet in relationships. You care about the other person's feelings. It matters to you how your other person feels, which is a great thing. There's a lot of great aspects here. So nothing wrong with this placement. You just might be a little naive in relationships, which a lot of us are. No one comes out in there. I'm a piece of shit. Date me. They're all like, I'm the best.
I wish though.
I know. That's the one time people can just be honest.
Yeah, because women try to fix men anyways. Like, just tell us what your problems are in advance.
Yeah, let me know if I want to deal with them or not.
Yeah. It's likely we will.
Yeah. I would, you know what, if someone, I'm one of those people, though, I will say this. I like to, really keep the bar low so that it only goes up from there. Like, I that's how I've always been. Since even when I was young, I'd be like, nah, I don't know. I'm really not that cool. I'm not that great. Like, I'm not, whatever. And I don't do this and I don't do that. But then I, really go over and beyond in relationships. I'm a Libra. But I don't, say that. I'm not like, oh, I'm going to do all these things. I'm like, that's probably never going to happen. So I set the bar real low. And so when I exceed an expectation, it's like, okay, that's my strategy.
That's fair. I like it.
Dating tips from Elle. Set the bar low.
I like that. I think that's the best way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
There's really no expectation. I'm like, I have a bang of kids. A lot of them are heathens. You don't want this life, I'm telling you. But really, my kids are dope as fuck. Like, they are so chill.
They got a good mom and dad.
Yeah. Well, thank you. But yeah, I don't tell people that out the gate.
That's fair.
So
Wow,
if
we did
anyone
it.
has any questions, you're confused about what your 7th house ruler is, which you might be.
Yeah, send me your chart. We'll take a look. Or Elle, preferably Elle.
Be fine. We'll go through it together.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Awesome.
it's relationships, contracts, partnerships. 7th house is all about other people. It is nothing about self, all about others. So the
Yeah,
third
love
most
that.
important house of the chart, of the pie.
Wow. That's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Good to know.
Big one.
I always knew I was attracted to weirdos, but now it's like pretty good.
Oh yeah, it definitely makes sense. I definitely have. I've always known that was my ruler, and I've always been like, man, I would take somebody who can have a decent conversation and looks like trash than someone that looks attractive that I can't hold a conversation with. Like, I can't stand that.
Yeah, same.
I'm like,
I agree. I agree. Well, cool. Well, next week we'll be covering the 8th house, which is Scorpio.
It's going to be the dark, the deep, the depth.
Healing, regeneration, what's hidden, the depth of life and acceptance, deep connection.
Sex.
Ooh, yeah, next week's going to be a good one, so I wouldn't miss it.
I
won't.
It.
I won't.
Like, I'll be here.
Awesome. Well,
safe
thank you.
travels tonight, and I hope you have fun. And yeah.
Thank you. Maybe I'll meet a handsome rich man on the airplane or at the airport.
Put that out there for you.
Thanks. A rich, handsome weirdo.
You know, maybe he'll just be an odd little duck and a little bit
big. Let's manifest bigger.
I love it.
A big duck. All right. Well, thank you, Elle. Thank you, Megan. Thank you for everyone watching. We will see you guys next Monday. Bye.
Bye.